Hey guys, welcome to the MC Anime Podcast. We cover anime, geek culture, Japanese aesthetics, and Asian studies. We are a multi-fandom podcast, and you can expect to hear topics in your favorite hobby or fandom activity potentially. You can find MC Anime on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Also, please check out mcanimepodcast.com, our website. Furthermore, stay tuned in for another episode.
Hey guys, this is another episode of TV show and movie review with Mason. Today we'll be doing Breaking Bad. Before we get into that, I have a special guest with us. How you doing today?
Hi, Mick. I'm doing good. I'm doing all right.
Who are you? And why are you important?
Hi, my name's Eddie Seiler, or online, I am known as Kemi. And I'm here to talk to you today about, for the podcast, for history is to talk about Breaking Bad. It's a show I really liked. I watched it very recently, actually. It was recommended to me by a close friend of mine, and I ended up liking the show a lot.
All right. So, let's further ado. Before that, I want to thank you for NU Streaming Entertainment for being able to be a platform we can have this shared, and also me be a content provider to provide to the platform. So given in TV show and movie reviews is what I'm going to be doing. It's going to be short videos just like this one, and I hope to have more and we'll continue like that. So Breaking Bad is a recent I'll say a 2010 TV show kind of in that decade, and I really liked it. It was something that not necessarily you see all the time, playing with legality and using different talents to actually do things in the black market.
Mm-hmm.
How about you?
So how I got it, like, I didn't watch it when it first came. I mean, I've seen it around when it first came out, but I didn't start watching it until like very recently, because again, a friend of mine told me to watch it and stuff, because it was like a really good action show. I did a lot of research about it after watching it. It turns out back in the day, like, it was very, very popular, but at first it wasn't, didn't have that much good viewings. But then, like, later in the series or later in the show, the seasons, it got a lot better. And I'd say so far, I really liked the characters and the story behind it and stuff.
True. I think what resonates with me with Breaking Bad specifically is the fact that you're in a meth lab and you have this person who can actually make the very specialized meth that no one else on the market can make, and it's really hard to duplicate his craft. So he's putting a lot into the actual project and then having his henchmen alongside him. Kind of interesting. And he's also an older gentleman, so you really wouldn't expect that to be an analyzer and meth maker as a chemist.
Well, yeah, it's his specialty. He's like a chemist teacher. And he worked with his class, like old students that used to be in his class, but he wasn't, of course, what we saw of Jesse Pinkman, he wasn't that good of a person and like hanged around a bad crowd. Of course, he was obsessed with drugs, and Walter White did this because he did it for his family. He really loved his family. That's why he even did all this to begin with.
Well, it does bring in the themology of what sacrifices are you willing to do to provide for the family, but also keep it going. And, a family is a very strong scene for the motivation of the character, but to a certain point, even that motivation later in the seasons doesn't become as apparent as it was in the beginning. The beginning was very strong, and then as it moved forward, it kind of went away and continuing what he already did before. Because the kind of family kind of isolated him, so everything being the way it was kind of got complicated.
So like another thing with Walter is like and also kind of got harder in the series because he had to see, you know, one of his closer friends died, like his brother-in-law, Hank. You know, it became that meme where like he just like passed out in the desert all sad. Like that became a meme after that. I just remember that. Because there was back then like a lot of memes. And even after the show, even the actors are also taking in part of like the meme culture. And I also saw a podcast where they had Walter as their special guy, like the guy who played as Walter White. He even described like, you know, on how he explains, you know, the comedy behind and what makes it a good comedy. But at the same time, most of it was action.
Yeah, and Hank as a character was a thorn in your side that never stopped coming. Always something else. And even when his health declined later in the fact, it still was a pain to deal with it. Because he wasn't giving up on exposing Walter or the operation entirely.
Oh, he was really on it. Like, you know, like, but, no, I know it's his job as a police officer, but I just kind of like Hank as a character, maybe because of like I think he's a bit snoopy when he didn't really, or goes out his way when he really didn't need to. Yeah, but it's his job, so I kind of understand that.
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, yeah, at the same time, it was his job, but you also have to keep in mind that Hank, which is different, but it also introduced family being in the way of actually exposing the double life. So in a way, it actually is more of a plot twist to get him involved because how personal Hank is to Walter's life and how personal the case he was pursuing when Walter was involved in the drug action. They didn't know exactly who was doing the meth, but they knew someone on the market was very specialized and it had a very specific formula footprint and how they made it.
I mean, it was kind of obvious, right? Like, I think near the beginning when Hank was explaining to Walter's classroom, I was, okay, well, it's quite obvious it was Walter, like, but no, Hank was just that gullible and clueless. It was all right there. Like, who else would you think he did? Like, it's obvious that it was Walter. He's the only good chemist in town that could potentially make that stuff. Like, and it was even more suspicious when some of his gear was gone. Like, where else could it be? Like, Walter played it off, like, oh, well, maybe somebody stole it. And then they just believed it with that. But if I was police officer, I would have just been down. Yeah, it had to be Walter.
Yeah. Well, an interesting about Breaking Bad was the business that was put as a front to cover up for the actual meth business itself. I think that was an interesting setup.
That, and they also had to kill. Of course, they didn't want to, but there were times where I had to kill because there are no witnesses and stuff.
Well, okay, but what do you think of the boss, the person in charge of the chicken franchise, using chicken franchise as the front to sell the meth on the side in the truck?
The Los Pollos guy. So that was the guy that was introduced by Sal, like, Better Call Sal,
yeah,
our lawyer guy. Like, they actually have a spin-off series after they ended, the official Breaking Bad show. But as for him, it was kind of interesting. Like, when they were first I thought it was going to be like the two guys that were going after Walter was going to be, the big bosses. But no, it turns out it was the owner of the store that was the guy that Walter was looking for to work for, and the final boss. And his background story was kind of interesting, that he worked for the cartel, and he was doing well. And he was only a very secretive person too. But it was also weird because there's another guy that also worked for Sal that was really close with Jesse, and Walter was just keep leaving left in the dark. Because eventually, near the end, they were going to replace Walter because, well, Jesse already knew how to cook it as well as Walter, because Walter was the one that taught Jesse how to cook them. So eventually, they were just going to kill Walter and they were just gonna keep Jesse. And plus, of course, I was also blind to Jesse because he's much younger, while Walter, he's much older, but he was also dying from the cancer that he had. So, that's why they would value Jesse over Walter.
Well, also at the same fact, with Walter, Jesse and Walter had an interesting connection in doing it as a pair, and it wasn't really a pair that could compete with Jesse on the same level as Walter did. So getting rid of that dynamic duo kind of also, rise to the occasion of who was actually a part of the relationship and making the process do it. Yes, you can get someone else, but at the same time, you're using protectivity because they're not working at the same speed. They're not working as yin and yang as they once were.
Yeah. Another thing I'd probably bring up about would be like the backstory of the man behind the whole drug cartel. And like, what were your thoughts on the backstory? Where they have, like you say, like the childhood of how they became the boss, the drug.
I think it has an interesting backstory. It did have a lot of good flashbacks to tell the story, but it also had a good enough seasons where you could tell the story in sequence, in continuity. I really liked how Breaking Bad was set up and how, the actual logo was, B and BR, like bromine, and I think the other one being on the periodic table was kind of interesting as well.
Yes. Okay, I mean, I also liked it how it was also sub, but again, like, like the earlier shows, like, it wasn't getting much viewing in AMC, I think it was, or HBO. I forgot which it was hosted on.
It was,
but then
I think Breaking Bad wasn't Breaking Bad on USA?
It was like HBO or AMC, something.
Okay, yeah. But, if I were to give it a score out of 10, I would give it maybe an 8. It had enough action, it kept you in suspense, but it did drag on a little bit more than it needed to, but it also needed to tell the story, so that's kind of why it dragged on like it did. There was a lot of complex characters that needed a full 6 episodes to explore, and also you might be seeing in other seasons more of that character, a different side. So that's kind of why I like that storytelling, because it fit the narrative.
Yeah, also, yeah, I agree. But what was your favorite parts of Breaking Bad?
Favorite part was probably the double life, hiding it from personal and professional. Walter being able to separate his professional and personal life got really complicated real quick. And then Jesse's was kind of like this endless struggle of who he was and not having a purpose without being the partner to Walter. How about you?
For me, I like the part when they were trying to get the specific water material or whatever from the train, where I thought it was really, it kind of reminded me of like a GTA mission, or the Red Dead Redemption mission where you have to hijack the train, and then you had to get the specific, and then it was got caught by those good citizens trying to move the truck out of the way of the train. And that's what I really like. But what I didn't like about it is they killed a kid in the end, because again, they can't have any witnesses. But kind of, and that's another thing with Jesse. He really cared about the kids. He cared about that one girl that he liked, that she had a son, and then you
also see the impact of the business that they're in, the legality messing with morals, and the choices they have to do to protect the business, and how deep can they go to do it.
That's just really, I didn't think, that was that's just, they should have killed the guy. They didn't need to kill the kid, honest. Because, I mean, yeah, sure, he would have ran off, probably told people that what he saw. But,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Here is something that a lot of times will make sense. So, let's say you do the father, right? A lot of times, they will do everyone in connecting to the father so they don't have enemies coming back later to seek out revenge. But in this story, you not want to leave witnesses. But it's not revenge. However, there's a potential for revenge later if they're left. And if they find out who was you and all that stuff. So when, you have an act of, the villain taking someone's life, it's also a common theme to see every family taken out too. That's just how sometimes the cartel does. You don't want to leave witnesses behind because witnesses tie you there or implicate you or a threat later that can use that information against you.
That's right. Yeah, that can also be, was also unfortunate. I think another part I liked was, it was a part when Walter and Skylar White, they had a baby girl, as their part of their family. I think that was pretty happy. Their family, they really needed, an extra family member, but at the same time, Walter was kind of endangering them. Which was very wrong of him. It was also, I think he would have been straight up, to his wife as well, tell him what happened, what's going on, instead of just leaving them in the dark. Because then eventually, near the end, they just didn't trust each other, because if he would have just been straight up and honest, the situation would have just been a tad better.
Yeah. And then, before we get to closing statements, what would be your score? Either 4 out or 5 scale or 10 scale?
I would give it a 7. I give it a 7.
A solid 7's fine. So closing statements about Breaking Bad, I would say is the dynamic flow, the interesting dilemma of the plot twist of the show being about drugs legality, investigation, making it chemist side that you don't usually see, and overall how it actually organizes the chemical breakdown of the formula to actually make something like the product that they did.
I understand.
How about you?
For me, like the ending closure of Breaking Bad.
Yeah. You think it
Oh yeah. You. What I mentioned a couple minutes ago, I mentioned I wanted to watch it too. It's like this spin-off show about Better Call Saul. I also liked him as a character. I think he was very helpful for Walter and I guess for Jesse as well. I didn't think it would be a good idea to share lawyers. I don't think that's even a thing in real life, is it? Like the share lawyer.
I mean, sharing lawyers through criminal means kind of gives you the impact of if the lawyer is involved, is you're protected by client privilege, confidentiality, and then also as a retainer, you kind of keep that in house. You don't keep it to another lawyer, kind of thing. They already know what's going on, so they can easily fix a situation to defend the same person in that same branch. So, and also there's not many crooked lawyers like that, so you have to choose who's really going to represent you.
I mean, would you want to watch the spin-off show, or maybe you already did watch it?
I already did watch that on Better Call Saul. Pretty good. You should watch it. And anyone here that watches, if you like Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul is also another show to watch from the spin-off of it. But as we wrap this up, thank you for in-use streaming entertainment being an opportunity to give me the opportunity to be the content provider and discuss TV shows and movie reviews. And thank you for being here.
Good night.
Bye, guys.
This concludes another episode of MC Anime Podcast. MC Anime Podcast is available on podcast directories like Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. We also have our website at mcanimepodcast.com. If you want to directly support us, then follow Patreon blog MC Anime. Finally, if you want services for hire, then we're available on Fiverr for audio and video production, graphic design, idea consulting, and blog and article writing.